Hi, my name is Janisa Pokhrel and I am from the Holmes College of Brisbane. My student ID is SKS8102. My group is called 016, which consists of 4 people, and I'm the first member who will be describing about the Part A question. So we have examined this Part A question under the IRAC method, that is issue, rule, application and conclusion method, which comes under the context of Australian contract law, to ascertain whether park lane parking can successfully rely on the exemption provision to defend itself from any action by the frank. So I have gotten all the points to this answer. So we will be describing about this issue. So I have got to look about the Australian rule for similar cases like exemption clauses, exclusion clauses and the liability restriction clauses are all the terms which are used in Australian contract law to describe the phrases in contracts that aims to restrict or eliminate one party's liability in a specific situation. So I have got 4 points. The first is about the consciousness and clarity. To guarantee the party accepting the contract is aware of the inclusion or limitation of liability, the clause must be unambiguous and prominent in the contract. So the second point is about the unfair contracts legislation. Certain exemption clauses may be declared unfair and as a result invalid under the Australian Consumer Law ACL if they disappropriately favor only one party and are not reasonably required to defend the interest of the other party. The third point is about the fundamental breach. Even if an exemption clause is unambiguous and appropriately brought to the contractual party's attention, it cannot limit culpability for a fundamental breach of the agreement. So the fourth is about the public policy exemption provision that seeks to limit liability for wrongful death and personal harm are scrutinized closely and may be deemed against public policy, in which case they would be unenforceable. So I'm done here and the rest of the answer will be described by my friend. Thank you.
Hello and good morning. It's me Subham Vista. My student ID is AMS8004. Today I am here to discuss about the application, whereas the issue has already been discussed by my friend. So now let's dive into the first critical factor, which is conciseness and clarity. The ticket Frank received merely stated issued subject to conditions. This raises a question. Did Frank have clear and prominent notice of the exemption clause? It's very vital to note that effective communication of the exemption clause is essential for it to be legally binding. We'll explore this further as we'll continue. Moving on to our second point, which is unfair contract legislation. Frank's case opens the door to the possibility that the exemption clause could be subject to the Australian Consumer Law, which is also known as ACL. Under the ACL, if the court deems the clause unjust, it could be declared void. This emphasizes the importance of fairness in contractual agreements. Now, let's consider the issue of fundamental breach. Frank's injuries might be seen as a potential fundamental breach of the secure parking agreement. However, the court will not only assess the type and severity of Frank's injuries but also delve into the specifics of contract. This will determine if the exemption provision can indeed absolve park lane of the responsibility. Lastly, we arrived at the topic which is called public policy. Australian courts are known for their caution while dealing with the exemption clause that exclude liability for personal harm or death. This caution is especially relevant if the clause is unclear or pertains to negligence. The court role is to examine whether the exemption clause aligns with public policy. Now for the part B, my friend will take over from me, and thank you. Have a good day.
Hi everyone, this is Minal from Brisbane. My student ID number is EIN8121. So moving on to our next topic or next case, focus on the negligence. The issue of the negligence is at the late night, Alice accepted a ride from her friend Mason on his motorcycle after they had both drinks. Despite Mason unsteady driving, they continued the journey, resulting into a serious accident when Mason lost control and hit a tree. So a case for a negligence can be occur in this case, as it involves holding Mason accountable for causing harm to Alice due to the failure to exercise reasonable care. To establish negligence, Alice need to provide the mission on her duty of care that he breached that duty through its action or intention. So, case application of this negligence is to succeed in a negligence claim against Mason. Alice must establish 3 points. Their duty of care. She needs to show Mason on her a duty of care, likely due to the motorbike ride or their close friendship. Breach of duty. Alice must prove Mason breached his duty potentially by driving while drinking. Education and damage. She must demonstrate the Mason breach directly cause her injury and provide evidence of resulting damage like medical bills and loss of income. So the first element in
Hi everyone, I'm Chen Wing Zhou and my student number is CWF8015, and today I would like to emphasize the last two crucial aspects in part B question, which is the breach of duty and the causation regarding Mason's negligence in the motorcycle accident. So first of all, the breach of duty. In Australia, drivers own a duty of care to their passenger. Mason, as the motorcycle operator, had a duty to ensure Alice's safety during the ride. However, his crucial misstep was choosing to ride while under the influence of alcohol. The standard of care expected from drivers in Australia is really high, especially when alcohol impairs their ability to operate a vehicle safely. Mason's decision to ride under the influence represent a clear breach of this duty, putting Alice at significant risk. Secondly, for causation. To establish negligence, we must examine whether Mason's actions directly led to the accident and Alice's injuries. Factual causation asks whether the harm would have occurred but for Mason's breach. In this case, it's clear that but for Mason's intoxicated state, the accident wouldn't have transpired. Legal causation, which assesses whether the breach was a substantial cause of harm, also supports the case. Mason's impairment wasn't just a minor factor, it was the primary reason for the accident. To conclude, breach of duty and causation are pivotal elements in Mason's potential negligence. His breach by riding under the influence directly resulted in the accident and Alice's injuries. These legal principles underscore why Mason should have held accountable for negligence in the context of Australian law. Thank you.